Hey, this is Scott, and today we're going to look at the Rode Rec iPhone application and compare it to something like the Zoom H1 for recording audio with the Rode Smartlav Plus microphone. If you're new to this channel, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. So to get right into it, the Rode Rec application is a very useful, convenient, and cheap alternative to something like the Zoom H1 or a more expensive dedicated recorder. It has its strong points and it has its weak points, but I also wanted to take a look at the sound quality when you compare it to a dedicated recorder like the Zoom H1. So first off, there is a free version of this application and a paid version. The paid version is only a few dollars, so I think if you're spending almost $100 on a lav microphone, a few more dollars isn't going to hurt to get the paid version and unlock a lot more features. So when you open up the application, if you already have other recordings, you'll see them in a list here. And there's a few options for deleting and sharing if you click this button up the top. There's a microphone down the bottom, which lets you choose the audio input device, as well as the sample rate. The button in the bottom right corner will let you choose some display settings, and the button in the middle will start a new recording. It'll open up to this main recording page in which you can see the level on top, the time, the waveforms if there's something recorded in the middle, a record and play button at the bottom, and some other options. Clicking on the second option here, you'll see some information about the recording, and this is where you can change the name of the recording. You can lock it if you don't want to make any more changes, and you can see some information like the sample rate, the length, and when it was created. Going to the next tab, the Properties tab, you can see a bunch of different information. I've never really messed with it, and I don't think you really need to. If you go into the next tab, the Settings tab, this is where you can adjust your input level, turn on things like the high pass filter, digital boost, and different kinds of processing. Usually I only mess with the input level here. At the bottom of that page, you can save these as the default settings, so that way you don't have to redo this every time. But if you don't set these as the default settings, every time you make a new recording, you are going to have to readjust everything, including the input level. Because it's a smartphone, when you tap to slide the levels up and down, it's a little bit inaccurate, and you may find that where you tap your finger to initially adjust the levels may shift it just a little bit before you slide up and down. So it is a little bit tricky to get really accurate levels or adjustments, especially because there's no numbers or anything to really qualify what level you're at. So once you record something, if you click this button up in the top corner again, it gives you some different options for sharing it. Now this is how you can send it to your computer or somewhere else. You have options for SoundCloud, Dropbox. I often use file sharing. When you click that, you can choose the format, and you'll have an option to create the audio file. But before you click that, I recommend that you turn on web browser access, and then after that, click Create Audio File. Once you do that, it will give you the address down below, and you can go to that address on your computer. So as you can see under the address area, it tells you, do not press the home or sleep or wake button when using browser access. So that means if your phone goes to sleep or if you lock it, then whatever you're downloading or accessing from your computer will be cut out. So you have to keep your phone open and on the entire time that you're accessing and downloading your files. So one final complaint that I do have about this application is not a problem of the application itself, but rather when I'm using it on my iPhone, that means that I can't use my iPhone as an iPhone. If I get a phone call or a message, that will interrupt my recording. Now, if you have a separate iPod that you can use for this, then it totally solves that problem. And again, it's not a problem of the application, rather just a problem that you're using your phone as a recorder. I will also mention that while you're recording, if your phone locks by itself or if you lock your phone, the recording itself will continue. So when you put it in your pocket, you're okay to lock it before you put it in your pocket. So overall, this application gives you a very high level of control over your audio at a very low price, especially when you compare it to a dedicated recorder, even a cheap one. So now I want to take a look at the sound quality side by side with a dedicated recorder that's relatively cheap, the Zoom H1. What you've been hearing so far is the Smartlav Plus plugged into the Zoom H1 at an input level of 75. This is how it sounds with absolutely no post-processing. I'm pleased with the sound quality, and it's a little bit deep and full sounding when you compare it to something like the Video Micro, which is now plugged straight into the camera, and this is how the Video Micro sounds with absolutely no post-processing. Okay, so this is how the Rode Smartlav Plus sounds when you plug it into the iPhone with the Rode Rec application. I tried as hard as I could to match the levels with the H1 recorder. Once again, this has no post-processing on it. I just plugged it in, started a new recording, and adjusted the levels. I will note that when you're using the H1 recorder instead of the iPhone, you need this little adapter to go from a plug that has these 3 rings on it to a plug that has 2 rings on it. This is pretty cheap and you can find it anywhere on Amazon or anything like that. So there you have it. I'll let you be the judge of which one sounds better. In my opinion, they both sound great, and in a pinch, I would absolutely not hesitate to use the Rode Rec application on my iPhone. It's just a small inconvenience that I then have no phone to use. Here they are one more time back to back, just so you can compare the sounds once more. What you've been hearing so far is the Smartlav Plus plugged into the Zoom H1 at an input level of 75. Okay, so this is how the Rode Smartlav Plus sounds when you plug it into the iPhone with the Rode Rec application. And this is how the Video Micro sounds with absolutely no post-processing. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to see more in the future. As always, thanks for watching.